Hey, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today we're working on a 2006 Lexus IS350 and we're going to do a basic tune-up. The car has about 68,000 miles. I'll get the exact mileage in a minute. And I'm going to do spark plugs, a PCV valve replacement since we're going to have the intake manifold off to do the spark plugs. And so for starters, you're going to need a number 5 hex socket that's long. It's going to be at least 3 or 4 inches because 2 of the screws you're going to try and get out are in the plastic intake manifold, and the head of this won't fit in there. It's too small. So get yourself one of these. I got this from homedepot.com. It was $8. They ship it to your house, FedEx. So you need one of these. If you don't have one, you need one. I got these spark plugs. Couldn't believe how much the dealer wanted, so I didn't get it from the Lexus dealer or the Toyota dealer. Got these off eBay, and they're not imitation. I know a lot of eBay parts are fake. These here, took one out of the package. It really is genuine Lexus Toyota Denso FK20HBR11 Iridium. These are the long reach. These are the proper plugs for this car. And I want to keep this car original with genuine Toyota parts. I did get this at the dealer since the car has enough miles. It's something you should change when it gets plugged up. If you can hear the ball in there rattle, it's still good. And these eventually will clog up. So since I'm going to have the intake manifold off, I'm going to go ahead and change the PCV. You could do it without that by getting a 19mm crow's foot and then have your socket on the crow's foot and get it off. It's pretty well covered, but you can get to it. I'll show you. But since I'm going to have the intake off with the spark plugs, and I got my new wrench to do that, I'm just going to do this at the same time so I don't have to do it later when it does eventually possibly clog up. So let's get started on this job. So first thing we've got to do, pull this cover off. Just held in by 3 clips. So we're going to take off the snorkel air intake, so get something to pry these clips out. Start taking these out so you can get this off. There's another screw down here you're going to have to unscrew with your fingers. Okay, I took out all 16 clips. And the 2 little thumb screws are loosened up. Stick these underneath one of the other cars to get them out of the way. There, now we can see the engine. Let's undo these 4 clips that hold the airbox cover on. Be very careful on old plastic not to break clips off. That out of the way. The air cover is loose. Let's get this screw off. That screw. Get this cover off of here. There we go. You can see there's an actual cloth thing in here. That stays as part of it, doesn't come out. Here you have the mass airflow sensor. So clean air is getting drawn through that, so that should still be clean. But you can always unscrew it and spray it with MAF sensor cleaner. Nothing else but that. Set this aside. Air cleaner's doing. Ooh, need a little clean. I got a K&N recharge cleaning kit, so we'll spray that and then wash it out with the garden hose. Garden hose going that direction to clean the dirt out. Don't blast it, just water on a hose. And we'll clean out this leaves in there. Pour these hoses out of the way. loosen this screw here, get this clamp off. And there's one more hose to pull off of here. Where's that hiding at? There we go. There's a little clip here that's on a hose. So this is out of the way. Go set that aside. This is blocking a spark plug here, so I'm just going to get this hose out of the way. Just the air hose. There we go. Put that out of the way. So now we can get to 3 of the spark plugs easily here. And now we got to work on the other side. Get this air hose for the brake booster off the intake manifold. And just leave this here out of the way. I'm going to get this off, see what is attached to it first. Okay, it looks like this is part of the manifold, so we can leave this, just unplug this. And it looks like that's part of the manifold. This should all come off together. Looks like we're going to undo these 4 bolts here to separate the throttle body from the intake manifold. So let's do the throttle body bolts. Let's get these off. 10mm, 4 bolts. I already cracked them loose. Let's get those all the way off. Okay, so I see one more bolt we'll have to get off. I'll point to it with this wrench. This bolt right here that holds this whole bracket to the intake manifold. So let's get this bolt off. Get a different wrench for that to separate the metal part from the plastic intake manifold. 10mm box wrench. Got that loosened up. There we go. A little bolt. So now this is separated and we get that intake out. Okay, this hose is in a clamp that's part of the intake, so let's just push that out of the way. Slide it so it's not in the way there. There's a screw that we got to get to under there. This is a water hose coming from here, going up to the throttle body. Let's see if we can snake that out of the way. This wiring harness is clipped to the intake manifold, so let's get under here with some needle nose, pinch underneath there and pull that off like that. There we go. There's part of it out of the way. We get that water hose out of the way. Connector is connected to the intake, so let's just wiggle it off of there. There we go. Let's see if we can just separate it to get some room here. There we go. Now we can tuck that out of the way there. I just need some working room here. Okay. Anything else in the way? I think now we can start going for the nuts and bolts on here. We're going to undo this nut and this nut, and then with our new 5mm Allen wrench, we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 screws and 2 nuts, and then I think we'll be able to lift it off. 10mm, take those off, and get our new tool in there. There we go. There we go. get my magnet. Inside there with a magnet. There we go. So that's what's holding 6 of those on the manifold. Looks like the dealer had this off before, I think for a recall. A couple of these screws, the heads aren't so clean anymore. So they must have had a very used wrench kind of chewing on these things. One looks a little chewed. It's very tight. I notice kind of uneven torque specs on here too from the dealership. On this side, there's just one connector you got to pull out right here. That's on the intake. And what else we got holding on here? It's almost loose. So from this side, there's one more 12mm bolt, so I'll show you where it's at. It's gonna be hard to film it, but right, let's see if you can see that. Right there. Let's see if I get my fingers with this wrench in there. I'll show you. I'm just gonna point at it. That right there, you see that bolt head right up against the firewall underneath the PCV hose. We got to get that one loose. Okay, I was able to unthread that, and here it is. I socket off of there. That is the 12mm bolt that's in the back underneath the PCV hose. Now, yep, now we can get it off. Now the intake is loose. Let's grab this thing and see if we can get it up and off of here. Looks like the PCV hose has a little holder. Let's gently lift that off the holder. Move that out of the way. Okay, PCV hose has to come completely off. There's a clamp right here. Got a little squeeze. Pull that off. There we go. And now it's off. Got the whole intake off of there. Probably wouldn't be a bad idea to change this gasket. I don't have one at the moment, but it's very thin. A little bit of a bad spot right there, where it's been pressed down unevenly, thanks to the dealership. But we'll clean it and we'll reuse it, because it's not bad. It was making a good seal, no vacuum leaks. So this is what it looks like. A little screen there to keep junk from going in. So I'll set this aside where it won't get damaged. Now before going any further, put a shop rag or tape this off. We'll clean it, keep the dirt from falling in. You don't want anything falling down into your engine while this is open. Okay, just put some blue tape to keep anything from falling down in there. Now we can start looking at spark plug. So Remember, plastic clips, let's be very gentle with these guys. Not break anything. 18-year-old plastic here. Screwdriver and try and work that off. There we go. There's one. There we go. Just have the feeling these are getting brittle. Okay, got all 6 connectors off. Interesting, the 2 center cylinders are black connectors, the other ones are grayish white connectors. Don't know why, but what's up with that, Toyota? I don't know if I mentioned, but AutoZone sells these spark plugs for $21.49 for these Denso Iridium plugs that are number 3473. So $21.49, you need 6 of them. It's $128.94 plus tax, $140 for 6 plugs. That's too much. So $25 on eBay for the exact same genuine Denso plug from Toyota. What a deal. And then plus the PCV valve, $20 at the dealer. So $45 in parts. If you went to the dealer, they're going to charge you more than $600 for this spark plug change. So I don't make $600 a day, so I'm certainly not going to pay a dealer $600 to change spark plugs. This is by far the hardest car I've ever had to change spark plugs in. I've heard like Ford Explorers are pretty tough. You got to take off the intake manifold, but gee, I think Toyota could have engineered this a whole lot better. But it is what it is. We've got to get these spark plugs changed. 10 millimeter, break these loose. This is just the nut that holds the coil over the spark plug so it doesn't have to be torqued like crazy, just to keep it from moving around. So let's wiggle that out. There's a rubber boot on it on the spark plug. Wiggle that out. Ooh, rubber boots, even pliable, looks good, no oil on it. Original Toyota Denso 90919-02260. So that's one. We'll get the spark plug out. Okay, got my spark plug wrench. It's 5/8. 6-inch extension on there. Actually, I'm going to add another extension on it. Make my life easier. Put this 3-inch on here too. Boy, they really put those plugs in. I think these might be in from the factory. I don't think they've ever been out. So after 18 years and 68,000 miles, these guys are in there. Let me break this loose and come back in a second. Okay, let me change this up a little bit. So I'm going to go with my 12-inch extension on my socket wrench. And I'm going to put a little PVC cheater pipe on here. See what we can find out. There we go. I just don't want to break the spark plug. we go. Still a little tough. I think I'm going to put some never seize, anti-seize on this for the new plugs. Let's see what the plug looks like. Looks like it's still burning pretty clean. Iridium Denso FK20HBR11, just like the ones I bought. So I'd say those plugs have been in there since the factory. So comparing new with old, same plug, let's look at the tip. So on the old one, I can see on the top of the electrode up here, a little bit of metal deposited on there. Now let's check the gap. It's supposed to be 0.044. Okay, so I got 0.045 is the closest one I got. Check the new one. They're pre-gapped. You don't want to mess with that. So let's just see. That fits in there perfectly and just barely touches. The old one, yeah, it's got some junk on the top there and I can't slide it through. So that's not good. Yeah, we definitely needed new spark plugs. Okay, a little bit of anti-seize on the threads. Don't overdo it, don't get it on the electrode. And we're ready to put that back in. Hand thread that in as far as we can get it. That is good. Don't want to overdo it. It's an aluminum engine. Don't over torque it. And that's one down, 5 more to go. Let's go ahead and we'll check the rubber on this top here. It's still good. Close this cylinder back up, put the coil back in. $10mm. Get that a little snug, but don't overdo it. Plug the connector back in. Make sure it snaps. Okay, on to the next cylinder. Unplug that for a minute. This can't get to the bolt there, so I'm going to have to get this wire manager out of the way. Take off this one 10mm. Just while we do this one cylinder and then put it back. Boy, Toyota, you could have done a better job at routing these wires. Just enough so we can get to that bolt right there. There we go. Okay, this one's good. Looks good. Get the spark plug out. How does this one look? Same thing, the center electrode has some little welded spots on the top. Let's check that. Yeah, that gap is getting closed because of that welded spot. I don't know if you can see that on the top there. Little anti-seize on there, threads. Yeah, let's carefully put that back in there. Hand thread it as far as you can get it. Okay, it's good. Good. Everything looks good on there. Let's put the other one back in the middle here. Actually, I want to do some vacuuming there and get some of those pieces of sand and grit out of there. Let's get this other spark plug changed. Then we'll do some cleaning. Okay, same condition on this spark plug. The electrode don't look so good. Check that gap. Yeah, that gap is closing on there. Okay, new spark plug, some anti-seize on there. Thread it in by hand as far as I can get it. Go. Okay, let's get a vacuum. Let's clean up in there. Okay, let's put the coils back in. Vacuumed off some of the gritty sand that was on there. Okay. Put this wire back on. Wire nut back on there. Click. 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 Okay, they're all on there. Let's move to the other side. So this wire harness is kind of in the way of getting the spark plugs out, getting the coils out. So get some needle nose, pinch that connector, pop it up off of there. Okay, one more over here. Get on the other side of the car to do that. Oh, that one's out, sorry. That one is out. It's this one. Pinch this one, pull it out. There we go. You don't get a lot of movement here, but maybe enough to get the spark plug coils out. Boy, there's not a lot of room to work there. Twist it around. There, got it out. Nice and pliable, good seal. Okay. Go in after the spark plug now. Get our cheater pipe. we go. Same thing on this spark plug. Looks like the tip is starting to get some welding action on there. Okay, another spark plug going in. Thread it as far as I can by hand. Okay. That coil back in. I'll wiggle it around till we get it in there. Electrical connector. Where's that connector? There we go. Snap, it's on there. Okay, next one. Turned around all the way 180 degrees. Make it easier to get out. And there we go. Boy, that one's tough. Still rubbery. Oh, tiny bit of oil right there. Impending valve cover replacement coming. Ain't much, but a tiny bit right there. I see a valve cover replacement in my future. Yep, same as the other plugs. New plug with anti-seize on it. In the middle hole. Thread it in as far as I can by hand. snap. Okay, the last coil. That's tough to get in there with that wrench. There we go. Push this wire harness as far out of the way as I can. Oh, that's tough to get out. Let's see if I unbolt this wire support here. Let's see if that helps. Get this out of the way here. See if it gives us any more room to work. I can spin the coil around in a circle. And yes, I think I can get it out. Got it out. That was very difficult. Still pliable. Yeah, it's in good shape. You know, I wonder if that oil I saw earlier was from a mechanic's hands and not an actual leak because the boot didn't have any on it. It could have been a prior mechanic in here from the dealership. No one else has worked on this car. So get the last spark plug out. Get you guys where you can see. Still got to do this PCV valve. While we're in here, we're going to go ahead and replace that. We don't know if it's good or bad, so we'll get it out. And all this work to get to it, I'm just going to change it for 20 bucks. I'm not going to mess with it. Okay, last one. Same bit of welding going on. There we go. Okay, last spark plug with some anti-seize. In we go, the last hole. Go as far as we can by hand threading. Okay, let's wiggle this coil back into its home. Get this wire as far out of the way as I can. Let's spin this around. Line up the bolt hole. Now to get the electrical connector on the coil, snap. Okay, all of our spark plugs are in. Let's work on our PCV valve. That is a 19 millimeter. Okay, so I have a 19 millimeter deep socket. And hopefully we can clear that. Yep. Okay, so let's get you guys where you can see better and get my cheater pipe. Boy, that's really in there. There we go. Hondas, this is just plastic. I'm surprised Toyota uses metal for this. And nothing but air going through there. Let's hear it. Still good. Yep. So you cannot blow air this way. Air only goes one way. It goes that way. Yep, this is good. Since I already got another one, I'm going to go ahead and change it. I'll just clean that one and save it as a spare. So we got this from Toyota, Lexus, same thing. It's a Toyota part 12204-31050. So I'll just put the old one in the same package and save it. An emergency in case this goes bad in the future and I need a spare. We're spraying a little sand away from the hole. Let's verify this one's got air going one direction. Let's see. Go this way. Nothing. Yep. This is indeed a good one-way check valve. Okay, let's put this one wire manager bolt back in that we took out, 10 millimeter. Okay, what we need to do now to clean this K&N air filter is use some of this K&N cotton air filter cleaner. So what we're going to do is we're going to spray this on here and then go outside, take the garden hose through the clean side, run the water just through it this direction until it all looks clean, and then we're going to let it dry in the sunlight outside. And meanwhile, I'm going to put the engine back together. This should be dry in the sun. Okay, after letting the cleaner set for 10 minutes, we're going to run some water through it, going from the clean side to the dirty side. We're not going to blast this thing. We're just going to let the water pressure from the hose is all it needs. Yeah, pretty clean. Shadow here. How clean does that look? A few little bits in there I gotta get out. So we got it all washed out. No gunk left in there. I just let this dry in the sun. After it's all dry, we're going to take this side and just spray it lightly with this vegetable oil, and then we'll put it in the car. You don't want to soak it, just enough to get it oiled, but the oil helps catch very fine particles, so let that dry in the sun. So we got some throttle body cleaner for this. Throttle body looks really dirty. If I get some light on this, the back side looks dirtier than the front side. So let's get to spray cleaning this thing. Oh yeah, look at that. It has two water hoses connected, and I don't want to get air in my system, so I'm going to leave the water hoses connected while I clean this. A little bit cumbersome, but man, that's gummy. We'll get it clean. Clean the front side, clean the back side. We can open it and spray through there. Clean it with a paper towel. Clean. Let's open that up. That looks clean all the way through. Front side, back side, all clean. Looks very clean. Okay, let's put the intake manifold back on. Let's get that one bolt in the very, very back. This has to go way in the back. Let's get everything threaded in by hand for now. Get everything lined up. So 2 little nuts here, 1 nut there, 1 nut here. And we got 6 of these hex bolts. And then we have 1 more bolt that holds this bracket by the throttle body. I'm going to come back to that in a minute because the hole's not quite lining up. So we'll start tightening some of these to get the hole to line up better. see if we can get this 10 millimeter in the back here. Just going to use the, oh, that's not a 10, that's a 12. I'll get a different socket. That's a 12 back there. And that's Toyota. Just tighten it by hand for now. Tighten these two 10s. Not super tight, but just work it down a little bit. I'll start doing some of these number 5 hex. Not in it. Not in the head, there we go. That's in the head now. There we go. Okay. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The 6 hex ones are tight. The 2 10 millimeter are tight. Let's see what else we got. Put this number 12 in the back. We'll get a wrench on it. Okay, back one is tight. Let's try and line up this bolt. This is a 10. I gotta get a 10 here. Right now. 10 millimeter, and it holds this bracket to the intake manifold. Let's see if we can thread the screws into the right spot here. Get it to align. This doesn't matter. There. Let's go in for a closer look. Okay, now we'll get our wrench on there. I'm going to put the camera down while I tighten that. Okay, that bracket bolt is tight. And now let's put the throttle body on. A nice clean throttle body. Put these 4 bolts in by hand. Get a 10mm socket on there. Take you in for a closer look. There we go. This is going into plastic, so don't overdo it. When you hear it start squeaking, it's tight. So let's put this hose, turn this clamp around here. It's more light. There we go. That's what we're working on. Put that on our new positive crankcase ventilation valve. There we go. Squeeze that clamp and put it down where it was on the hose originally. There we go. See if we seat that hose in its little holder. Yep, that hose is seated where it belongs. Put this back into its clip. Put this one back into its clip. Put this clip back in. Okay, we got 1, 2, 3 clips for our wire harness. This is our brake booster vacuum. Okay. And what else? We got to put this wire connector. So put these together and push it down in there. There we go. And let's see, more wire managers. They're going to go in there, one there, one there. Let's see, a hose that has to be connected. We have a hose floating around. We have a wire connector here. Now that goes into our mass airflow sensor. This hose got underneath the other one by mistake. I think, let's see. No, we got a hose that goes here. Yeah, that hose got underneath that clip. Let me get that clip off. Okay. here, this hose, water hose goes there, and then this water manager clip goes back in. There, now it's routed correctly. This electrical connector, snap. There's going to be a hose here when we get the snorkel. Just tagged one electrical connector, one hose connector so I don't forget them. So where is that small hose? Ah, there we go. There's the small hose that goes on there. That's what I was looking for. This thing is really, oh, got a tiny little rip at the end of it, but that's okay. It's on the other side of the connector. I'll want to replace this hose soon. Getting kind of on the brittle side. It's just for vacuum air. Now we gotta connect this hose here. Get the snorkel on. And put this hose in this connector over here. There's a hose holder on the bottom of the snorkel. Holds this hose. Put this air hose on the manifold. There we go. Now let's spray our K&N air filter. Put it in there and then put the cover on. Let's get some vegetable oil on here. There we go. That's enough. A little right there. Let's let that soak in a little bit. Okay. We'll wipe off any excess, let it soak for a little bit. Okay, so we have our side we just sprayed, and then we have our clean air side. This would be the dirty air side, that's the one we sprayed. So just drop it in here. There we go. And let's get our cover. Get this clip out of the way. There we go. Now it sits down. There we go. Put these spring clamps on. Feel with your fingers that it's on all the way. 3 spring clamps, and then 1 clamp that flips over here. There we go. Let's tighten up those 2 screws on our air snorkel. I'm going to get a 10. MAF sensor. Mass airflow sensor is plugged in. Now for all these covers that got to go back on. Put the two side widths on first. We got 16 clips and 2 thumb screws to put in. Okay, put a beauty cover on the top. Kind of a high idle, we just cleaned the throttle body. Let it relearn. There's no codes, no check engine light, that's good. Just the throttle body needs to relearn itself. Okay, I say we did a good job there. Let's let it warm up and make sure the idle's good. Take it for a little drive. Idle seems okay now. Okay, coolant is fully heated up. The idle seems okay now. Let's call this job done.